Georgia. Good evening, fellas. It is week 9 projections and bold predictions. We're going to try and keep this up as best we can, keep it going. We've been so consistent throughout the year, but you know what? I'm the only one doing it, so tough shit. It is what it is. We're going to keep going with it, try to finish out the year for sure. Happy Friday evening to all you guys. As of this recording, I myself am having a nice Makers and whiskey sour. It's awfully tasty. I do enjoy it. I highly recommend it. Fix yourself a drink, sit back, and enjoy this as we dive right into it. As always, we're going to start out with my game because I'm running the show. So we're always going to look at my game first. On the slate, I am playing the Nahant Narwhals. Mike's team is a pretty steady Eddie looking team going through the year. They've been a steady performer. They're 5-3. I'm coming into this week with a 4-4 record. My last minute trade of Devonta Freeman for Kenyon Drake seems to have paid off going into the Thursday night game. To say that I thought that would happen would be a vast overstatement, hyperbole to the highest degree. Saying that I thought that would actually happen. A big fat 21 points coming into this rest of the slate for the week. I'm going to go with predictions of projecting myself to win this game, even though I have a 21-point lead after the Thursday game. I'm going to say that goes ahead and actually holds up. I like the matchups I have with Galladay and Allen Robinson against those secondaries. I am going with the 3 tight end set. Last minute pickup of Jonnu Smith. I think it could be as soon as I heard that Delaney Walker was going to be out, I was like, well, let's take a shot. It was either Jonnu Smith or D.D. Westbrook, and with Westbrook still being a question mark, I could still always flip him last minute, but Westbrook being a question mark going into that Sunday morning game, being over there in London, I'm going to be trying to pay attention to the news reports leading all the way up to that. Over on the Nahant Narwhal side, he's just playing Russian roulette over there with his running back situation this week, deciding to go with Phil Lindsay, despite Royce Freeman having the most production the past 3 weeks, but I'm going to say 2 for sure. Looking for a bounce-back week from Melvin Gordon. I think he actually gets it this week. And, of course, his roulette wheel of wide receivers with DJ Moore and Curtis Samuel. Coin flip. Which one do you take? He's going with DJ Moore this week. We'll see how it all ends up in the end. I am catching him on a good week with his big boy Michael Thomas sitting on the bench with a bye. That being said, I do have my big guy Cooper Kupp on the bye. So in the end, I think that's a pretty much straight wash. But I say I win in the end. We'll see how it ends up. One of us is going to have 5 wins. The other is going to be still at 5 wins. Yeah, that was some in-depth analysis there. Our next game has Emperor John taking on I've Got the Nuts. Interesting tidbit that I saw is that Emperor John, this is his the first time he's had 4 wins this early in the season in 3 years. The other interesting note that I saw is that I've Got Nuts actually has the toughest schedule so far on the year and has played fairly well for it. Again, his wide receivers are starting to show up a little bit. He has Davante Adams on the bench currently. I expect him to actually slip that in there for Darren Fells as Davante Adams is expected to play. You just can't sit Adams over Fells. That just doesn't work. Kittle put up a good 15 points in the Thursday game for him, so it's a good head start that he has on John. Don't sleep on John's team. Do like how he has John Brown and Thielen. Thielen is a little bit of a toss-up, last-minute injury sub if he decides that he can't go. He did have that hamstring injury that kept him out of last week, although that was a short week with the Thursday game. So he, in essence, has had 2 weeks to heal up on that hamstring. and indications are that he's a 50-50 to actually go. So be interesting to see what ends up happening in the end there for him. If that happens, I don't really see a whole lot of depth on John's team, and that would be a huge blow for one of his big point getters. I'm going to go ahead and say that Nuts holds on to this one, starting with that 15-point lead go from the Thursday night game with Kittle. And if he puts in Davante Adams over Fells, that'll be a huge boost for him. With our third game on our slate here, we're looking at Miller High Life taking on Ninja Assassins. This is an interesting one because we are looking at Ninja Assassins having the easiest schedule, one of the easiest schedule, if not the easiest schedule in the league, going against a hampered Miller High Life with David Johnson putting up 0 points because he just ended up not playing in the end, and George not pivoting last minute there, and not really having a whole lot of depth on his bench to fill the holes as it is. So he's, again, still kind of struggling and juggling that wide receiver situation there. Delaney Walker, like I mentioned earlier in my matchup, has been declared out for this week. So he has a hole that he has to fill. It'll be interesting whether or not George will actually get enough information from other suitors of a potential trade to try and see if he could do that. It's not about the trade deadline. It's about the moves that need to be made throughout the season. Yes, it is a dynasty league, but more than anything, it's not really a dynasty league per se. It's more of a hybrid keeper league or a long-term keeper league, and as such, moves do need to be made. And in this particular case, I don't expect George to sit on the sideline with that 5-3 record and looking at a potential playoff spot. I don't expect him to be sitting on the sideline much longer. I look for him to be making a move. Nothing too surprising over here with Ninja Assassins and Chew. I mean, he'll just keep rolling along here with his running back core. I expect that floor to be high. I expect Fournette to actually put up some strong points this week because the injuries to the Houston Texans defense, his floor is probably going to be a little bit higher than usual. Instead of the 8 to 10 points that he normally scores, 10 to 12 is probably going to be his floor there. Dalvin Cook is in a cushy matchup against that Kansas City defense who can't stop a cold. McCaffrey. I'm looking at Kansas City and I mean McCaffrey going up against Tennessee could be a little interesting. I mean, look. McCaffrey, the offense runs through McCaffrey. That it doesn't matter the matchup, it just matters where his ceiling is going to be. And in this particular case, like last week against the 49ers, his ceiling is a little bit lower. That being said, his floor is so high, it kind of doesn't matter. T.Y. Hilton actually just came across on my phone. T.Y. Hilton is the latest Colts starter headed to the sideline. A calf injury is expected to keep the wide receiver out for 3 to 4 weeks. So, could we see Chew making a move somewhere? Possibly. Who knows? He decided to go with Matt Moore over Jimmy Garoppolo. Can't say that I blame him, but Jimmy G, the chosen beauty queen of the NFL, has come through with 22 points on his bench. Where does he go from there? I don't know. Maybe a little Mark Andrews tight end action, although it is going against New England's defense. That being said, this is the first week that New England's actually going to be facing a legitimate contender of a football team. So we'll see. But I think in the end, the running back is just the running back core for Ninja Assassins is just too deep, and they end up holding on overall to go ahead and win that game. SSC taking on Smashing Neurons. Well, yeah, Kelly's going to win this game. Avery has made it clear that he is selling and has done a few little moves here and there. Again, I think he's waiting for the trade deadline and a few desperate teams to go out there and try and make massive moves. He does have a few pieces there. In the end, I do like a couple of his plays there between Aguilar and Evans. Amendola has been a sneaky little quiet play the past few weeks. He's been pretty strong. In the end, the bye weeks between Brandon Cooks, Julio Jones, and Alvin Kamara are just going to be too much for him to be able to overcome. It's just week 9, man. Week 9's a bad week for bye weeks. It seems like all of the heavy hitters, for the most part, are out, with a few sprinkled in before and after week 9. Over on Kelly's side, I mean, Saquon Barkley, Godwin, Hill, and Lockett should be more than enough for her to carry the day. She has have Goff again with the Rams being on bye. She has Goff on bye, so she's rolling with David Carr. Not much to really say here. She's a 76% favorite. She's projected for 20 plus more points. We're just going to have to go with Kelly in this one, and the doldrums continue for SSC. In the fifth game, next to last game of the week, we have Bad Hombres and Mud Monkeys. This is an interesting one because both of them, one is improving in the Mud Monkeys, and one is slowly falling apart and makes you wonder whether or not they're even paying attention if they're asleep at the wheel in Bad Hombres. They haven't really been paying attention. They have Joe Mixon on bye, still in their starting lineup. I think 2 weeks now they've had Kerryon Johnson in their starting lineup on injured reserve. The new guys to the league need to wake up a little bit, pay attention. This is a little bit more in-depth and difficult and requires a little bit more attention of a league than some of the other leagues that they've been a part of. So they aren't out of it. They technically still have a shot with the Mud Monkeys this week. I don't know who they have next week. I guess I could look that up real quick. But for the most part, they're not totally out of it if they decided that they wanted to try and make a push. They've got a decent enough team that they should be able to make that. They do have the Nuts next week, which could be a difficult task for them, but it's not an insurmountable mountain, that's for sure, to scale. They could do it, in other words. They could definitely do it. They just need to make some moves and see if they can get one or two of their guys to come back and hit on all cylinders between Carson Wentz and Keenan Allen. In the end, I think Mud Monkeys wins this one? Question mark? I think they'll win it. I think it'll probably be one of the worst scoring games of the week, just because it's going to be a slugfest of guys in the mud trying to put something together. In the end, the Mud Monkeys become victorious and win it. For our last game of the week, we do have Green Light for Breezes taking on the West Staines Massive. This is an old school matchup between Paul Worth and Mike Dorsey. These guys go way back. Many games have been played, contests, competitions, whatever you want to call it. Anyway, these guys go a long way, and it'll be interesting to see who comes out on top. I'm personally going to take Dorsey in this one just because I don't think that the Patriots defense, which has been such a buoy for Paul Worth in their 4 wins, comes through for them. And I see they put Deshaun Jackson back in their lineup. They're hoping for another big game there. Aaron Jones probably will put up a good game because it is going against the Chargers, and it's a bad defense, and they're all hurt. But I don't really see the rest of his team being able to put up enough points because Paul Worth has been living on the Boomer Bust system for the past 4 weeks. He has 3 guys. I think he won with 3 guys 1 week, which was absolutely ridiculous. Over on West Staines' side, he actually has a high floor between some of his players, even though he did make a few trades to acquire a few assets. The Gurley on the bench because of his bye week hurts, although I could see Miles Sanders slipping into the starting lineup somehow. Chicago, they don't stop the run very well, and they don't cover pass-catching running backs very well. And if Miles Sanders is anything, he is that, a pass-catching running back. It's just whether or not he wants to gamble with it. He is projected for 70 points versus 58 for Green Light. They've both had people play on Thursday night, and West Staines has an 18-4 lead. I think he basically maintains a 5 to 10 point lead for the remainder of the way and wins this one to come out and be 3-6 versus 4-5 for Paul. Overall, I did have in review the Bismarck Shuttlecocks winning. I have the Nuts winning, I have Ninja Assassins winning, Smashing Neurons winning, Mud Monkeys winning, and West Staines winning. Basically, all the home teams. Rather interesting, if you look at it that way. If there was ever home field advantage in fantasy, which there isn't. But anyway, it was rather interesting. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Like I said, I'm trying to keep these going as best I can. Not always successful, but it is what it is. We're just kind of plugging along. If I can get this to work, we might be able to do it. Anyway, you guys take it easy. I'll catch y'all next week. And Bet on Brace. Check your roster.